We're called Hygge, not Hygge. You're welcome. It's that easy. We're more than just a space. Inside you find coffee, humans with big dreams in the back corner, safe place to talk easy. Co-workers taking a break, the work can wait. Please meet our host, she's Mary Jane. The mics are on, the coffee is strong. This is 0 to 10.
Oh, we should totally scrap all of this and talk about that.
And just let me sing for 10 minutes.
I saw you on Instagram and I was like, what the fuck?
I know, I need to record some new, well, all my stuff is really old, and so friends will always be like, yeah, she sings, and they'll send a video out from like 2012, and I'm like, you know, baby voice singing whatever hit song was happening, and I'm like...
I think you mentioned once that singing was what you first wanted to do.
Yeah, that was like growing up, that was what all my time was spent, like vocal lessons, choirs, theater, like that was what I did. And everyone just like associated that with like, you're going to go on American Idol, like you're going to go to Nashville. Yeah. And I thought that I might in like high school, because I played guitar and I was like the guitar girl or the Taylor Swift of, you know, my grade. Then I studied classical voice for 2 years, like hardcore, and it kind of like did what they say, don't study what you like love, or, you know, they'll say that even about work sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that I just didn't have the, like, a lot of the people in my grade, they did go to like the conservatories, and they did like go on cruise ships and like sing, you know, they work their way up the ladder, and I didn't have that in me to do. I had like other, like the photography started happening. So for me, it was just like fun after that. And it's still, I'd miss it. Like I really do. Because now it's just up to me to like put myself out there and do it. Because nobody's like making me do it anymore.
Right. Have you ever done like an open mic night or something?
I mean, I used to do all the time. Before I moved to Charlotte, I did gigs up here all the time. That's like why I started to love Charlotte. But then I moved up here and I stopped doing them. And so I need to just get back in it, but I would like to.
Yeah, I would give an appendage to be able to sing.
I know, and that's
really
why I
well.
need to do it, because it's everybody wants to be able to do it, and then I'm like, you know. So I actually have been talking. You know, Mike plays guitar. Mike, I always say his last name wrong. Bilfico.
Oh,
whatever.
Yeah.
He plays guitar, and so he used to play out a lot, and so I've kind of been talking to him. We should just like do it for fun and like
jam session.
Do it for Hygge people, or like go over to Rhino and do it there. So that could be a potential future thing.
Do you write music too?
I used to write a lot, and I don't anymore.
Interesting.
But I used to, when like in high school and when MySpace was really a thing, I had one of those artist profiles, and my best friends would just set my originals as that, you know how your page would have a like song.
Yeah.
That was as far as my songwriting got. It was like who I had a crush on, like, who I
the
hated.
names have been changed to protect.
Yeah, and people would message me and they're like, "Is this about them?" I'm like, yeah. So it was more of like a gossipy, like
high school
love. Yeah.
Also, side question before we get started: everybody who I've ever met who knows you but doesn't like know you well, but like they're like, oh yeah, you know, do you know Julia Faye? And they call you Julia Faye.
Oh,
does that bother you at all?
So that's so funny. My cousin always says that she can tell who is actually my friend and who just knows me through like business, because that's how they call me. And she'll be like, yeah, somebody at the bar or wherever, a coffee shop, said something about Julia Faye, and I knew that you didn't really know them. And I was like, yeah, so that is very true. I mean, it doesn't bother me. Obviously, I like named my business that, but I don't expect I just tell people to call me Julia.
Gotcha.
But it's a funny little thing. I'm like, they usually met me for the first time, you'll call me that.
Yeah, whenever I've heard it, I'm like, that's not her name.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
We'll
Because people will think it's my last name, but really it's my middle name.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have chosen to identify you as Julia Faye Murray.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Let's just get all the names out there. Every single one.
I love it.
Okay. All right.
I want to like do the intro. Da da da.
Can you?
No.
Yes.
Maybe another time when you're not recording.
Should. No, we are recording right now.
I don't trust Garrett editing this.
So today on the Hygge podcast, we are talking to Julia Faye Murray, who is Hygge's amazingly talented resident photographer. And apparently a wannabe singer that I've just found out. And if you spent any time in and around Charlotte, chances are you've seen her work. She started out photographing weddings and still does, but she's also transitioned her business over the past few years, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to hand it over to Julia for an introduction, and then I'll offer a little bit of backstory on how this sort of topic came about.
Cool beans. Hey, everybody. Hey, Mary.
Hi.
It's just us now. I'm Julia. I'm super stoked to be here today and just ramble all over this. But I'm really excited that Mary asked me on and to talk about this. But like she said, I'm a photographer. It's been a journey just like it is for most entrepreneurs. Started with weddings. Now most of my days are, with entrepreneurs and different brands around the city, getting to know who they are, their stories, and photographing them. So that's the professional side of my life. I love it. It's weird because it's work and it's professional, but I show up. The best part about this job is that I get to show up just having fun and being myself with all of these brands and all these business owners. So it's a fun gig. And outside of that, I'm from the Carolinas. I was actually born in Charlotte, but
you're one of those.
I'm one of those, but I didn't live here. I lived in a small town outside of the city.
Okay.
So this is like the city. This is the cittiest place I've ever lived, which it's funny because a lot of people that come here have come from bigger cities. And so, but I love it. I love everything about Charlotte and the people and what it's becoming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I follow Julia on Instagram.
Okay,
and
thanks for the follow.
Absolutely, anytime. And I was really struck the other day because you put up this post that spoke to me and a lot of things that I've been going through over the course of running my own business. And
Sure.
You talked about how when you started your business 5 years ago, it was mainly photographing weddings.
Right.
And then it sort of became photographing everything and exhausting and draining. And,
right.
And it kind of pushed you to a point where you decided to make a shift. And so I'm hoping that you can tell us a little bit about how that all happened.
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of remember it like it was yesterday. 5 years sounds like a long time, but
right?
It's been flying. So I started in college. And so I attribute a lot of this to being really young and not really knowing what I wanted to do. But also, I've noticed with talking to other entrepreneurs and whatever their industry is, that we all, at the very beginning, we want the work so bad that we'll take on any kind of client, any kind of work because it's an opportunity. It's somebody that wants us, and it's also money. So there aren't these barriers of what exactly it is. So at that time in my life, any Facebook message I got, any email I got, anybody that was like needing something photographed. I mean, I think I mentioned in that post, I was doing like babies. I was putting newborns in buckets that I had no
and Getty style.
Nobody should have ever handed me their baby. Thank you for doing so, but I didn't know what I was doing. Real estate, like just really random things. I even was like marketing on Craigslist at the time. It's like me being like, I don't know where to put my business. But so anyways, I was doing it all. And as, time and I got more experience, I started to realize I was saying yes to things that like I actually hated showing up for, which is not the purpose of running your own business. Like, sure, there are days that are hard and days that we're working on things we don't love doing, but we shouldn't be feeling like, just like we're dragging along with clients that don't get us and doing work that we're not really, really good at. So that's kind of where that post stemmed from, and feeling like I'm finally in a place to where I have found the right people for me and the right jobs. And I finally don't feel when an inquiry comes through that I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I'm the right photographer for them from like a style standpoint, and also just like, I think somebody else could do this better than me. It's not that like, scary feeling anymore of like I must say yes. And that took obviously a lot of time and experience to like get there. But yeah, at that time it was like I was terrified to say no. It wasn't even an option. I was just like,
Right.
yeah, let me figure out how to photograph houses now.
Right.
So it's kind of silly looking back on it, but I've seen that in other entrepreneurs. I've seen it in florists. I've seen it in writers. I've seen it in people that do all sorts of things. They hate to say no, and I don't.
Yes. I'm one of those.
Yeah.
The process of building the business has been, well, how can I turn that down? Because it's money. It's a client.
Right. And they want me.
Exactly. And I'm so flattered. And oh my God, this
Right.
is, one more thing that's sort of boosting my confidence.
Sure.
So what were some of the steps you took to start systematically saying no?
Right. So getting down to this specific niche that I am in now, it took some time. The thing that started it was when I went from shooting everything to just weddings. So that helped because I was really marketing myself as a wedding photographer. So it was easier for me to say, hey, I only do this now. But even now, I will still have trouble with this. And kind of my tip for if you're like me and you even seeing the email and responding it out and saying no is I have an assistant now that helps me with emails. And
nice.
While you might think it's because to help me with answering emails, it's more to help me with the emails that I don't like responding to and that I sit on for days filling out, do I want this job or how do I want to let them know I can't do this? And so my assistant, we've wrote out these canned responses of all right, that we're going to send this when I need to send this to this person, or we're going to send this when it's not a fit, or, let them know. And that has helped me not take it so personally each time and feel oh no, so that's kind of a random thing of how I do it. But it also just came down to really figuring out what my ideal client is and the values that I care about and what they need from me. And if that matches up, then great, this is a fit. And if not, really weighing the pros and cons of, okay, am I going to say, is this negotiable for this reason? Is it because the income or is it because is this a one-time thing? And if it really doesn't make sense, I put it in that pile of this isn't a fit.
Yeah.
And it's just take practice. At first it was really hard and I was I can't believe I'm saying no to this. This
Right.
could, especially even weddings now, because I'm very limited in what weddings I choose. And so that means saying no to thousands of dollars, which is crazy if you think about it. But it doesn't line up with the future of my business. So, but I have learned that with practice, it isn't so hard. And after 5 minutes and you're on to the next task, you're not oh, I need to write them back and say never mind. You feel good after you've stood up for yourself. Yeah. So it never really sticks with you, which I think is the point. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
If it is on your mind and you're then maybe. But rarely those ones that aren't a fit.
Right. And you kind of know pretty quickly, if it's not stirring the pot internally, you're maybe I just need to just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's something else kind of random is I'll if I'm not sure, I'll sit on it for a little bit. I think I used to respond right away with a yes. And so then later I'd be oh, I probably shouldn't have. So giving it a little bit of time helps too.
I once heard that, that, we put all this agonizing into saying no, but it's way worse to say no and then come back with oh, wait, yes, than it is to say a yes and then have to walk that down to a no.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you also made mention in the post about, some of this at its core, this wanting to say yes to everything, really being driven by fear, fear that I guess the business won't succeed,
right.
that, all of this will just go away one day. And so I'm just kind of wondering how you tackled that piece.
Yeah. And that's an interesting piece because I think it's one that I've gotten better at. But it still happens, especially in this transition. This year is a big transition for me because I am not doing as many weddings. And like I said, unless it's just known, weddings fuel a lot of income. They're expensive. And so I think one thing is in the moment it's fearful, but I've come to trust the process that every no leads to a right yes. And I have yet to not have seen that come full circle to where I said no to an opportunity and because I was available and because I stood up for those values and what I was like really holding on for, I saw later that the right opportunity came, and that I, especially even with specific dates when I've had to say no to weddings this year just because of my number trimming down, when I really was available. And being like, oh man, but I am available. Like, but I told myself I wasn't going to like do this. And then something coming up closer to time that was so much of a better fit for what I am doing now. And just being like, man, I would have missed out on this opportunity had I said yes to the wrong thing. So it's interesting, but I think it just comes with practice and just faith, finding faith somewhere.
Exactly. And holding on to it for dear life.
Yeah, thinking it's going to show up eventually. So, yeah. It's an everyday struggle, though.
Yes. And I think it's helpful to hear that it's an ongoing struggle.
Yeah.
But it's also helpful to hear how you're sort of managing through it. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much for coming on and talking about this.
Thank you. I'm glad that post struck something with you because, you know, sometimes we put something out onto the social media worlds and we're like, I'm really spilling out my heart here. Is anybody going to care?
Is anybody listening out there?
Yeah. Is this more than a double tap to you? So it makes me feel good.
Hopefully I commented. Now I'm wondering, or did I just like it?
No, that's more than, you know, I could ask. So thank you.
No, thank you. This has been great.
Yeah. See ya.